Aaliyah's ship descended slowly onto the dusty plains of the alien colony, the engines humming softly against the silence of the strange world below. The ground shimmered with hues of violet and blue, and as the ramp lowered, a small figure stepped into the light, a delicate alien girl named Luma, known throughout her people for her unique coconuts that held a secret power. Aaliyah had heard stories of these mysterious traits, but nothing could have prepared him for the sight of them larger and more beautiful than anything in human legend. Curious and nervous, he approached with his scientific tools ready to scan, but his hands trembled slightly as he accidentally activated a device that caused the coconuts to swell beyond their natural size in a dazzling burst of light. Luma gasped, covering her face as a deep blush spread across her pale cheeks, and the colony's inhabitants who had gathered nearby began whispering and giggling at the unexpected spectacle. Aaliyah felt a strange mixture of guilt and excitement as he tried to apologize, but found himself smiling at her flustered expression. The moment marked the beginning of an unusual bond between the human and the alien girl. The colony was a place of ancient traditions, and every physical change carried meaning and power, and now everyone wondered what this accidental enlargement meant for Luma's future. Aaliyah realized that this was not just a scientific mishap, but a doorway into a world of mysteries he was only beginning to understand. The air buzzed with tension and curiosity as both humans and aliens watched the two strangers standing together under the alien sun. Aaliyah promised himself that he would protect Luma and help her understand the changes rippling through her body and soul, even as the colony's elders began to murmur about prophecies and powers long forgotten. This unexpected encounter sparked a journey neither of them could have foreseen, filled with challenges, secrets, and a growing feeling that the coconuts were the key to something far greater than either of them imagined. As the sun dipped below the violet horizon, Aaliyah and Luma looked out toward the distant stars, both unaware that eyes from beyond the colony were watching their every move, waiting for the right moment to strike. The adventure had just begun, and with every heartbeat, the mystery deepened, dragging them toward a destiny woven by trust, courage, and a power that refused to be hidden. After the initial shock of the accidental enlargement of Luma's coconuts settled, Aaliyah found himself drawn deeper into the mysteries of her world, where every physical trait carried meaning far beyond the surface. He watched as Luma confided in her closest friends, whispering secrets about how the sudden change had awakened something strange inside her. They told Aaliyah that the coconuts were not merely ornamental but held the key to an ancient power passed down through generations, a power that influenced both mind and body, and that the enlargement was unlike anything ever recorded before. Aaliyah's scientific mind raced, trying to piece together how the device he used could have triggered such a profound reaction. Meanwhile, Luma's demeanor changed subtly, her eyes sometimes glowing faintly when emotions surged, and her movements held a new grace mixed with uncertainty. Rumors began to spread among the colony that the enlargement was a sign of an awakening, and some elders warned that with power came danger that could consume her if not controlled. Aaliyah knew that the colony's mixed reaction was only the beginning, because they did not understand the full extent of what was happening. He began studying Luma closely, noting how her energy fluctuated in sync with the changes, and how the coconuts seemed to pulse with a rhythm matching her heartbeat. The tension between excitement and fear grew not just in Luma, but throughout the community as they watched the girl who once seemed delicate now becoming a figure of whispered awe and anxiety. Aaliyah's respect for her courage grew as she struggled to maintain control of her emerging abilities while battling the shame and embarrassment caused by her blushing and sudden physical transformation. Each day brought new questions and new dangers, and Aaliyah realized that his role was no longer just an observer, but a protector and partner in navigating the path ahead. In quiet moments, they shared fears and hopes, realizing that this power could change not only their lives, but the fate of the entire colony. Unknown to them, shadows moved in the darkness beyond the colony boundaries, beings who had long coveted this secret of the coconuts, and who would stop at nothing to claim it for themselves. As night fell over the alien landscape, Aaliyah and Luma stood side by side under strange twin moons, their hearts beating in unison, aware that whatever awaited them next would test their bond and their strength like never before. Days passed in a haze of tension and whispered conversations as Aaliyah and Luma tried to understand the sudden surge of energy pulsing through her body. The enlarged coconuts glowing faintly under the twin suns like dormant stars waking from a long sleep. Aaliyah watched in amazement and concern as Luma's emotions seemed to ripple visibly across her skin, shifting the patterns beneath her pale surface, while her eyes flickered with an unnatural light that both frightened and fascinated him. The colony elders gathered in secret meeting chambers, speaking of prophecies and ancient lineages, claiming that the true power of the coconuts had finally surfaced after centuries of slumber. Luma's control slipped more than once, causing bursts of energy to flare in the air that sent nearby flora shimmering and vibrating as if alive. Aaliyah stepped forward, offering help. His scientific mind raced in to find ways to measure and contain the forces they were unleashing together, while she struggled to keep her fears from overwhelming her. The relationship between them deepened in quiet moments, filled with trust and unspoken understanding, as Aaliyah promised he would not let her face the dangers alone. Whispers of their bond spread through the colony, sparking hope in some and suspicion in others, while unknown eyes from distant shadows sharpened their focus, waiting for the perfect time to strike. One evening, as they practiced control under the glowing canopy of luminescent trees, Luma's power surged beyond her command, her coconuts shining with blinding intensity and sending waves of energy rippling through the air that bent light and sound around them. Aaliyah caught her just in time, pulling her away from the edge of collapse, and in that desperate moment, she revealed the true nature of her gift. Bloodsong, a rare and ancient ability to reach into the minds and emotions of others, weaving connections of trust and influence stronger than any weapon. The revelation changed everything, because it meant the coconuts were not just physical, but the source of a power that could reshape alliances and shatter empires. Aaliyah knew that their journey was no longer about curiosity but survival, and that every choice they made would echo across the stars. The quiet night was shattered by the distant rumble of engines and the approach of hostile ships, signaling that their enemies had begun their move. Together, they prepared to face the storm, knowing that this awakening was only the beginning, and that the galaxy itself was watching with bated breath as the true test of their bond and power drew near. The calm that had settled over the colony was shattered one restless night when shadows slipped silently through the glowing streets, their movements quick and purposeful, like hunters who had waited long for this moment. Aaliyah and Luma were alerted by the distant hum of engines and the sharp crackle of communications breaking through the colony's security frequencies. The air grew heavy with the smell of ozone and burning circuits as small boarding crafts descended from the sky, cloaked in stealth technology designed to evade detection. The attackers moved swiftly, using advanced weapons that cut through metal doors and forced their way into the heart of the colony. Aaliyah drew his weapon, but knew this fight was unlike any he had faced before, for the attackers seemed more afraid of Luma than of him, and their weapons faltered as she stepped forward. her coconuts glowing softly with a light that pulsed, in rhythm with her heartbeat as she extended her hands. A wave of energy radiated outward, disrupting the attackers' weapons and causing their helmets to flicker and malfunction. The colony's defenders rallied behind Aaliyah and Luma, but the attackers were relentless, pushing forward with ruthless efficiency. Aaliyah fought fiercely, knowing that if they failed the secrets held within, Luma's power would fall into the wrong hands, and the entire colony would be lost. Amidst the chaos, Luma struggled to maintain control of the energy surging inside her, her blush deepening as her power swelled beyond what she thought possible. She whispered to Aaliyah that this was only the beginning, and that the Council and their enemies would stop at nothing to claim what was hers. As the battle raged, the glowing patterns on Luma's skin flared, brighter, lighting the battlefield with an ethereal glow, and Aaliyah realized that her strange coconuts were not just a symbol of her heritage, but the source of a force that could change the fate of entire worlds. The fight grew fiercer and the outcome uncertain, but Aaliyah's resolve hardened, knowing that the bond forged between them was the key to surviving the darkness that now sought to consume them both. Through fire and shadow they pushed forward, ready to face whatever came next with courage and an unbreakable trust that had grown in the fires of their shared struggle. The aftermath of the battle left the colony scarred, but alive, and in the quiet moments that followed, Aaliyah and Luma found themselves drawn closer, bound by shared danger and the unspoken need for trust. Aaliyah dedicated himself to helping Luma understand and control the strange power that surged within her, the glowing patterns of her coconuts now pulsing steadily with a light that reflected her growing confidence. Together, they explored ancient texts and practiced the subtle arts of focus and restraint, teaching each other what they knew about strength and vulnerability. The colony watched in awe as the once shy and embarrassed Luma transformed into a figure of quiet authority, her blush replaced by a steady gaze that seemed to hold the weight of stars. Whispers of hope spread among the people, but shadows lingered as not everyone welcomed the change. Some plotted in dark corners, fearing the shift in power, while others saw Aaliyah's influence as a threat to tradition. Tensions rose as old alliances fractured and new ones formed, with Aaliyah and Luma at the center of it all. The princess's blood song grew stronger, allowing her to sway emotions and thoughts, subtly turning enemies into allies and softening the harsh judgments once cast upon her. Aaliyah's loyalty never wavered, though he knew that protecting Luma meant standing against forces that would use fear and lies to tear them apart. Their bond was tested in moments of doubt and danger, yet each trial only deepened the connection, making them more than protector and ward, but true partners in a galaxy that was waking to a new order. As they stood together beneath the twin moons, their hands barely touching, yet their hearts beating as one, the distant stars seemed to shine brighter, and the promise of a future built on trust and power whispered through the silent night. But lurking beyond the horizon, enemies watched, waiting for the moment when cracks might appear in their unity, and ready to strike when they did. Aaliyah and Luma knew that whatever lay ahead, the strength of their bond was the key to surviving the storm and shaping the destiny of their world. The calm that had briefly settled over the colony shattered like glass when alarms screamed across the horizon and dark shapes swarmed from the sky like locusts over fertile ground. Ryan and Luma stood side by side on the observation deck, their gazes locked on the incoming fleet as engines roared and weapons hummed in preparation for the battle to come. The alien ships moved with terrifying precision, their sleek designs reflecting the cold light of the stars, while the Council's warships bristled with armaments designed to overwhelm and destroy. Ryan's hands tightened on the rail as he barked, orders rallying the crew while Luma closed her eyes, summoning the ancient power within her. The coconuts glowed fiercely, now bathing the deck in an eerie light as she extended her hand, sending waves of energy that rippled through the ship's systems, disrupting sensors and communications. The first volleys of plasma fire lit the void in streaks of blue and red as the Valiant plunged into the chaos of battle. Ryan fought alongside his crew, using every tactic and weapon at his disposal, while Luma's voice rose in a haunting chorus, weaving through the minds of the Mylamda attackers, spreading confusion and fear. Despite the overwhelming odds, the defenders held firm, buying precious time for the crew to execute maneuvers that turned the tide in pockets. Explosions rocked the ship, throwing sparks and debris into the air, but Ryan's resolve never faltered. Knowing that failure meant not only their lives, but the loss of everything they fought for. Luma's power surged higher, draining her strength, yet magnifying her influence as she reached into the thoughts of the enemy commanders, twisting their wills and breaking their formations. Amidst the fire and shadow, Ryan caught glimpses of the true cost. The blush that never left Luma's cheeks now deepened into lines of exhaustion, but her spirit burned brighter than ever. The battle raged on with no sign of yielding until the last wave of enemy ships faltered, turning away into the cold dark where they belonged. As silence fell, broken only by the ringing in their ears, Ryan looked at Luma and saw not the mocked, ugly girl, but a warrior queen forged in the fires of war and trust. The galaxy would no longer laugh at the coconuts, nor at the human who dared stand beside their power, because together they had shown what true strength looked like. And the battle was only the beginning of the war to come. The dust of battle settled slowly across the colony, revealing scars etched deep into its ancient streets and broken towers, while the twin moons cast a soft pale light over the figures moving cautiously through the aftermath. Ryan and Luma stood together, overlooking the city from a high balcony, their hands barely touching, yet their presence speaking volumes of the bond forged through fire and shadow. The coconuts no longer a source of embarrassment, but a symbol of awakening power, glowing gently with a steady pulse that matched the rhythm of their hearts. Whispers of their victory spread through the colony, sparking hope and inspiring those who had doubted now to see a future where the old fears and prejudices could be overcome. Elders once silent now spoke of change and unity, weaving new alliances that embraced both tradition and the promise of strength born from trust. Ryan promised to stand by Luma's side as they rebuilt the broken world around them, preparing for the challenges that the galaxy beyond still held in store. Together they faced the rising sun that painted the horizon with hues of gold and fire, knowing that their story was no longer just about survival, but about leading a new era, where differences were strength and courage was born not from power alone, but from the willingness to face the unknown hand in hand. The stars above twinkled like distant fires, lighting the path ahead, and as the colony stirred to life beneath them, Ryan and Luma stepped forward, ready to embrace the destiny that had chosen them and to become the guardians of a galaxy finally. Ready to believe in the impossible. If you love thrilling HFY Sci-Fi stories like this, turn on the bell icon so you never miss the next twist in our sci-fi universe. Make sure to hit that subscribe button.